There are people you look at and see only a story you've already written in your head. This is a story about a young man who was too sure of himself, and an older man who carried a library of wisdom in his quiet heart. Liam was a college student with a smile as big as his ego. He walked into his history class like he owned the place, talking loudly to his friends. He was waiting for his first class with a famous professor, a man everyone called a genius. Liam believed he was a genius too, but without any of the work. "This is going to be a piece of cake," he said, laughing. "They say the professor is a legend, but he's probably just old and slow. I bet I could teach this class." His friends chuckled, a chorus of agreement. Just then, an older black man, dressed in a simple, worn jacket, shuffled down the hallway. He was carrying a heavy box of old, dusty books, and he looked like he was having a hard time. As he reached the classroom door, he fumbled with the handle, and the box tipped. The books spilled onto the floor with a loud thud, their old pages fluttering like defeated birds. Liam saw the whole thing and laughed. "Look at that," he said, nudging his friend. "The janitor can't even open a door. I hope he doesn't mess up our class." He looked down at the old man, his face a mask of scorn. "Maybe you should go back to school, sir," he said with a cruel smirk. The old man didn't say anything. He just bent down, his joints groaning, and began to pick up the books one by one. His hands were calloused and tired, but he handled the books with a quiet reverence, as if they were precious treasures. He didn't look at Liam, but a deep sadness settled in his eyes. The bell for class rang, and students started pouring in, stepping over the old man's books as if they were nothing. Liam and his friends took seats in the front row, still whispering jokes about the janitor. The classroom was filled with a nervous energy, everyone waiting for the famous professor to appear. Minutes passed, and the professor was still a no-show. Liam started to complain loudly, his patience gone. "This is ridiculous. I pay a lot of money for this class. I hope this guy is worth the wait. What a waste of time." He didn't notice the old man, who was now quietly placing his box of books on the teacher's desk at the front of the room. The old man, with a slight limp, walked to the center of the room. He turned to face the class, his face a mix of deep wisdom and quiet sorrow. He looked directly at Liam, and for the first time, Liam noticed the man's eyes. They held a kindness that was powerful and ancient. "Good morning, class," the man said, his voice a deep, resonant rumble that seemed to fill every corner of the room. "My name is Professor Vance. And for the next 4 months, I will be your professor." A wave of stunned silence swept over the room. Liam's face went white. He stared at the man he had just insulted, the janitor, who was now standing in front of him, his professor. All the mean words, all the cruel jokes, came flooding back. He felt a hot, sickening shame. Professor Vance looked at the class, his gaze settling on Liam for a long, quiet moment. He reached down and picked up a single, worn book from the box on the desk. "History," he said, holding the book up, "is not just about dates and names. It's about stories. Stories of great people, and of forgotten people. It's about seeing the past clearly, so we don't repeat its mistakes in the present." He then looked right at Liam, his voice now soft but full of meaning. "The first lesson of this class, and perhaps the most important lesson of your life, is this: never judge a book by its cover. You see an old man, and you think you know his story. You see a box of books, and you think they are just old paper. But every person has a history, and every book has a soul." He paused, letting the truth of his words sink in. The shame on Liam's face was now a silent scream. Professor Vance didn't need to say anything else. He had already taught the most important lesson of the semester, not with words from a textbook, but with the quiet power of his own dignity. The classroom was now a different place, filled with a new kind of respect, a respect for the quiet man who had entered not with a loud hello, but with a humble box of books. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that inspire, challenge, and stay with you.